Hey everybody, this is Dr. T and welcome to Makeup and Mental Health. I am a licensed psychologist and I'm also a trauma and grief therapist. And this episode is about a movie that I just watched that I absolutely loved. It was Encanto. And for me, as a trauma therapist, it brought up so much about generational trauma within a family. But as someone who's now venturing out into career coaching and helping people really identify where they need to set better boundaries or transition or find their voice at work, I really want to talk about the themes that I drew from Encanto, really about how trauma shows up in the workplace. So I'm going to take some time, enjoy this video. I'm going to be doing a look that was inspired by Encanto because Encanto to me was very colorful. So I'm getting ready to do a colorful look for you today. We'll see how that turns out. I've been doing more muted looks lately. I used to do really colorful looks when I was in college and also in grad school, and then as I started to work more, let's talk about it though. As I started to work in a professional setting, I toned my makeup down. So isn't that interesting? So we're about to talk about just like how work really affects, how trauma might affect how you show up in the workplace. So this video was important to me because I'm also going to be talking about some of the things that happened to me as well, being in a toxic work environment and having to eventually leave and really work for myself because I wasn't okay with how things were going. So come on this journey with me. So first things first, I did my eyebrows already because I have this like crazy way of doing my eyebrows that I don't really need y'all to see just yet. But I just wanted to show that I use the MAC Spiked. That's my favorite one that I've been using for a while. I've also used Anastasia. So the other thing I've did is like just to make it look okay. I mean, for me, they're not going to be twins. They're going to be sisters. And I'm usually okay with that because I'm like, listen, this MAC 24-hour concealer, I put it on my eye already just to give it some shape. So, and to make it, like I said, they're going to be sisters. They're not going to be twins. They might even be cousins sometimes, but that's okay because as long as it looks good for overall good, in my opinion. All right, so let's get into it. So I'm going to be doing a mix of talking about the movie and also just I'm really going to be focusing on characters that I see as themes. And then I'm going to kind of be breaking down a look for you. So me personally, I like to start with my eyes. So the character that she's the foundation for me, and she's actually reminds me so much of myself. So I'm going to be using, to represent her, I'm going to be using my Juvia's Place. This is Vanessa. She's actually really, she's really about this brand. So just, I don't really know her Instagram handle, but I see her all the time. If you go on Juvia's Place on their Instagram, you'll see her. So she kind of has her own line. So I'm starting off with my base, and I'm going to start off with busy, because I'm talking about Luisa and how she's busy being strong. And what can I say about Luisa? So seeing her character really resonates with me because I used to be like that. I used to be like, oh, I gotta be strong for everybody. I gotta make sure that I don't cry at work. I can't be vulnerable, especially when I was the only Black psychologist in a school. I used to kind of just be like, I really can't be vulnerable in these spaces. And people would actually tell me the same thing too. People that I was with would be like, oh, don't let them see you cry. You always got to be strong. And I think that really this being strong in the workplace isn't helping us. I think it's actually really terrible for our mental health. Especially for me, because I found myself suffering. I found myself suffering unnecessarily so because I was just so worried about being strong for everyone. So when I saw her, I mean, really, in a family, you'll see Luisa showing up in the people that are just saying like, don't cry, like suck it up. We got to do what we got to do. And I think that that's especially harmful for us as Black women because we're already trying to wear this superwoman cape. And being strong can actually really put us at a disadvantage with our mental health and the way that we show up. So I think that that's one thing that I would like to say for Black women, especially. Like, we really have to evaluate this idea of strength and this idea of strength in our workplace and how it's affecting us. If you're scared to cry at work, you kind of have to ask yourself, like, why? Why are you scared to cry at work? Why are you scared to be vulnerable with your supervisor when the work is becoming too much? I think this is a really important questions to ask ourselves and maybe the people around us. Like, because I found myself when I was alone, I was like, oh, I really can't do this. I really can't say this in front of people, and I really can't show myself and cry. And I found myself hurt. It was really hurting my mental health. I was really not okay. So I think as women, we need to really evaluate how busy we are in the workplace, but this mentality that we have to be strong, because now, in an effort to break the trauma cycles that I see women having to suffer every single day with work, what I've been saying now is this power and vulnerability. Like Louisa, you can, I'm sorry if I'm butchering, but Louisa, we can't continue to carry so much on our backs. Eventually, we are going to give out. We are going to fall apart. And just like she did in the movie, spoiler alerts, I hope you see the movie before you watch this video, but she started to get weak because she kept trying to meet the expectations of those around her, and it was actually making her weaker, not taking a break. And I say this all the time. I used to be that person that was like, I have to go to work. I have to go to work every single day, even when I'm sick, because I have so much to do. And I think, and for sure, like for me especially, it was actually hurting me. I was not as effective being so busy, being so tired, and being so overwhelmed. My work actually suffered because I was so busy and because I was so preoccupied with having to be strong all the time. So for you, you kind of have to ask yourself this question, like, how comfortable am I being vulnerable at my workplace on a scale of 1 to 10, being like very vulnerable and you can kind of talk to who you need to talk to about what you need to talk about, or 1, like you keep everything to yourself because you're afraid. And why are you afraid? What is holding you back? So, those are my thoughts on Louisa, and I'm so happy that my base of eyeshadow is busy because I'm just putting this down there. I'm going with a lighter color actually because I am going to be going with a more colorful look. So we're actually going to see how that turns out. I learned this a while ago because I was like, how does the color pop in how can I asked a Mac artist, like, how can I make my color pop in photos and videos? And she was saying, to really apply a base. I learned that a long time ago, and now I'm doing it myself. But the lighter color technique, I'm testing out really for the first time. So bear with me. So my next character that I'm going to be talking about is Camilo, and he is the shapeshifter. So the shapeshifter to me and how it shows up when you're traumatized is pretty much like you having to adapt to a situation because of survival mode. And I think for us, especially people of color, that is code switching. We are shape-shifting every day we go to work. And that to me is extremely exhausting. I don't think people understand. I know it's like we're supposed to do it, but I feel like it's actually hurting us and it's wildly uncomfortable. And I feel like we don't talk about that enough. We really don't talk about how exhausting code switching is. It's something that we kind of laugh about, something that we do. We know we do. It's something that our grandparents, our parents taught us how to do, and we've actually seen them do it. But we don't talk about how mentally exhausting it really is. I felt like a shapeshifter at my job because I was showing up and I was like, saying certain things, watching my words. Like, you think about it, you're showing up to work. Half your brain is focused on making sure that people don't see you for who you really are. So that you're already showing up with your brain working. As soon as you walk in, you're trying so hard to code switch and to fit in. Then on top of that, you have to do your regular tasks for the day. Then on top of that, throughout the day, on top of doing your regular work, you're constantly making sure that you don't say the wrong thing, that you don't appear the certain way. If you're a Black woman, you don't appear like the angry Black woman. You're trying to make sure your image is nice and tight and perfect. That is exhausting. For me, by the time lunchtime hit, I was like, oh God, like it was annoying. And the only time I could really be myself was with people who were like around me, like who I was close to with the job, who can relate to me. But to be in an environment at meetings and to constantly watch my words is exhausting. So I feel like that's something else that we need to really talk about and normalize. I think it's something that especially people who are white don't necessarily realize, that it's a privilege to show up to work and to always feel comfortable being in your own skin, and to feel comfortable like you don't ever have to worry about people seeing you as angry, passionate, annoying, frustrating, or just someone that they can't really gel with. And for us, it's like we're showing up to work already half exhausted for the face that we have to put on, or the mask that we have to put on every single day, or we're shape shifting into the person that we really want you to see. So it is mentally exhausting. And another thing that comes from trauma, because guess what? That's something that after slavery, or during slavery even, that a lot of our ancestors had to do for survival. We had to kind of shift ourselves, shape shift ourselves into the nice, kind, docile people that wouldn't get attacked because we were talking back, or we were disrespectful, or we were angry, or whatever the case may be. And then it just kind of continued on throughout history. And this is why it's passed down from our parents and our grandparents. Like, you can't talk a certain way at work. You got to show up to work this way. Like, sometimes you don't even realize you're code switching. I didn't even know what code switching was until I was a grown adult. But I know it. I know I did it. And I know I had to do it, but I wasn't even sure why. So there's a cultural piece here, there's a historical piece here, and there's a mentally exhausting piece here that we have to acknowledge. So why don't we take a break? So I'm thinking that for this color, I'm going to kind of do a nice, I'm going to show you, this is Juvia's Place. Again, I just really like their Black-owned company. I really like how their colors show on my skin. So it is the berries. I'm thinking of a purple look right now. So I'm going to be applying some, let's do this color right here. Just going to put it on my eyes. And yeah, I'm thinking purple and pink today. All right. So I'm putting some nice pink here on my eyelid. And then we're going to go in and put something in my crease. A nice other, I'm going to say maybe a magenta. But yeah, so shape-shifting and code switching, to me, trauma responses that are mentally exhausting but necessary, but we don't even really know we're doing it. It's kind of passed down to us. So, okay. Let's get some pink there. My next person that I want to talk about is Dolores. She hears everything. I thought she was such an interesting character because, a lot of times, like, growing up, we hear things. We always want to make sure we're in the know. And how does this apply to trauma in the workplace? Well, for starters, I think that when you're in a toxic environment, you're hypervigilant. You're always kind of watching out and scanning for a threat, especially if you feel uncomfortable, especially if you feel threatened. Like, and some people do feel threatened, especially if you don't know if your job is going to end at any point. You might feel very uncomfortable, really discussing it or talking about it with anybody, but your ears are always to the ground to make sure to see what's happening. And I just want to say that I think that that in itself is exhausting as well. For example, I remember like my first year really being so uncomfortable at work that I went into work almost like in survival mode. Like, what am I going to do with today? And I remember always having to just be quiet and to kind of listen into what people were saying. And the reality is, some people were talking about me. Some people were talking about me. They felt comfortable kind of whispering around me and then smiling in my face. And I think when you first experience that, it just makes you hypersensitive to everything else that may be going around. And then you're just like, am I doing my job okay? You start to have all these thoughts that make you question yourself as an employee and sometimes as a person. So for the person that's always listening, they're always just like, what's happening? Am I about to lose my job? Are people talking about me? We kind of find ourselves in a position where we have to always be in the know. And then we seek out people who are always in the know. Like, what did you hear? I heard so and so in this. I heard so and so in this. And it's just like, that speaks more about the company than it does about you. Why do we have a job where it's all about, I have to hear from someone else about the new changes? Why isn't there transparency? So, a toxic work environment is one that you find yourself having to find answers from other people, having to see if someone else knows something, if someone else heard something, or having the information trickle down to the point where you're hypersensitive to someone going, did you hear? Did you know about this? And just having that is exhausting. Just having that is pretty traumatizing because it's just like, as soon as you hear, did you know, your heart and your anxiety goes, your heartbeat starts beating fast. You start to get a lump in your stomach or some butterflies, and you're just like, oh, what's the news now? When it shouldn't even be that way. It should be always be, you're in an environment where everyone's keeping secrets, where everyone is gossiping, where nothing is transparent. You're gonna find yourself like Dolores, find yourself trying to know and find out what's going on. And that in itself can be really traumatizing for someone because that can be very anxiety provoking every single day you go to work, having to look out or hear for some news that might be either you might be some changes at work that might be affecting you that you didn't know about. If your company was transparent, you wouldn't have to do these things. So let's break for a moment. I'm going to be adding this. There's no names here. I'm going to be adding this here in my crease. There's a lot of purples here that I'm loving. I haven't really used this in a while, so I'm going to just put this over here. Okay, let me put a little bit more. I might have to go with the darker purple. Oh, okay, I start to see it in this mirror. And don't worry, I'm going to clean that all up with some foundation. All right, so I'm going to put some of that in my crease. Maybe I might even do a dark purple just so that I can really bring it to life. Bring the look to life. Alrighty, let's do it on the other side. I'm kind of liking this purple pink action here. I'm wondering what I'm going to do with my lips actually. I was going to have a purple lipstick here. Let's see if it all goes and all flows together. Alrighty. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling the berries look. Okay. All right, let's do it one more time because I feel like it's a little bit faded. It's coming out really nice in my mirror though, but in my camera, I don't know if you can really see it. We'll fix that. We'll fix that. That happens sometimes, but we'll fix that. Don't worry about it. Oh goodness. Okay, let me just start to so that no, it doesn't scare anybody. All right. It's like, what's happening here? Okay, just so I don't lose my flow. I know some people are like, I don't apply it that way, and that's fine. Everybody does it differently, but I'm just doing this for right now because sometimes I like to have it catch. That I haven't used that in a while, so that hasn't really happened. All right. So let me just do this one more thing before I hop into what I happen to. Where is the other one? Oh, here it is. We can always use this one. So now I'm going to be using this darker purple here just to kind of bring things out. All right. All right. So I'm using this darker purple and just kind of putting it here at the edge. There we go. Bring it to the corner, bring it just not all the way like I did with the first one, but just kind of bring it mid-center. Some people use tape. I honestly just use my concealer. I don't want to tape my face. I would find that uncomfortable. So I just kind of use my concealer. As you can see, I just kind of make it a line so that it's a little bit cleaner for me. I used tape once and I was like, no. No. So let's add a little bit more dark purple here. Yeah, it's coming out really nice in my mirror. I can't wait for you to see the final product. All right, so let's take a break. But I'm loving this so far. I actually really am loving it in the mirror. I can't wait to show it to you, the final product. But let's get into another character. So Isabella. I'm trying with my Haitian accent. I'm sorry, y'all. Isabella. So she can create limitless plans for everyone, and I thought that it was really nice. And I'm kind of, in my makeup look is drawing from her like ability to create all these beautiful flowers. And I was just like, wow, she's like under all this pressure to constantly create. And she reminds me of myself, because you find yourself sometimes being in a company where you're constantly creating things for free, working outside of your hours for free, by the way, working outside of your hours for free, working on the weekends. Maybe you might not be getting paid, but you're doing it because the company is just saying, thank you so much for creating all these beautiful things. We so appreciate you. You're doing great. Thank you. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. They're taking advantage of your creativity, and you don't even realize it because everybody makes you feel like you're such a valued member of the team. Like you're doing this great work, like with Abuelo Alma, how she's always like, Isabel, you're doing great. Thank you for doing this. The people are enjoying it. And you start to kind of get that feedback, but you don't realize that it's tiring you out. And you also don't realize that sometimes people are taking advantage of your creativity, and it stops you from kind of speaking up and saying, hey, I would like to do A, B, and C instead. How about some other ideas? And then when you have other ideas, just like in the movie with Abuelo, it gets shut down. It's like, oh, we don't really want that. That actually doesn't really fit with our plans. And then you're like, but wait, what about all the other projects I created for you? Like, how come when I'm trying to bring this in, you're not okay with this? And they're just like, no, keep on doing what we want. We like your creativity, but when it suits us. This actually happened to me, and I used to do, because I'm a trauma therapist, and I love talking about trauma. So I was working hours, I was coming up with presentations, I was coming up with all these PowerPoints for my job, and I was being really creative with them. What really struck me was when I wanted to talk about how the impact of, I was just reading this and seeing videos about post-traumatic slave syndrome, and I was like, you know what? Let's do this PowerPoint connecting, things from slavery and how they're still showing up to this day. For instance, how sometimes Black parents might put their children down and just be like, oh, he's not that, he's not that smart. He's not that this. He's like, when a teacher might compliment them, and a Black parent might just be like, you know what? Yeah, but he can still do this. He can still improve. It's like instead of receiving that compliment about their son, they're saying, well, he can kind of do better, just like that, putting them down. And I got this from the book Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, and I was watching this beautiful video, and I was like, oh, I noticed that too. Like, I'll compliment someone's son, and then they'll be like, but he can do a lot better in this area, right? And then I realized from watching this video, like, when our ancestors were slaves, one of the things that parents used to do in order to stop their sons from being sent to another to being separated from their families, they would put them down and be like, oh, he's not a good worker though. You don't want him. He's dumb. He's not great. He's lazy. He should just stay on this plantation because they would in an effort to keep their sons with them, to keep their daughters with them. Slave parents would put their children down. And we're still seeing elements of that to this day. There's a lot of cycles that we haven't broke out of. So I was trying to explain that, and I wanted to bring that to a PowerPoint presentation, and I was shut down. I was told, "Ooh, we're not really talking about that. We want you to talk about trauma." But that's different. You know, I remember my supervisor calling me and saying, like, this is great, but we're actually doing this. So could you bring it down a little bit? And I was like, well, this is important too. I would want the teachers to know, like, because some teachers used to be like, you know, how come the mom is talking about her son this way? And I want to equip them with the knowledge, and I got shut down. I was told, like, hey, this is not what we're really doing right now. Like, you need to kind of scale it back. Like, we actually do PowerPoint presentations, but not about this, you know. And this was at the height of the pandemic, and I was just like, we need to kind of talk about this. This is the perfect time to do trainings on race, because here we are after George Floyd, after all these protests. Like, let's start arming teachers with the knowledge they need. And like, you know, like Abuela Alma, no. We didn't ask you for this. This is not your realm. You weren't asked to create this. You were asked to do this. And I feel like we have to recognize when our voices aren't being heard. We have to recognize when people want something from us, but they don't want all of it. If you want my creativity, if you want my work, one, compensate me for it. Recognize what I'm doing for you. And also allow me the creativity to do things that might challenge staff, or might challenge the employees, or might challenge the status quo. But that wasn't happening. So that kind of struck a chord with me. And that made me realize this may not be the place for me if I'm not allowed to kind of make those connections and really equip staff with the knowledge that they need. So let's take a little quick break, and we are going to go into this. We're still doing the berries. So now I'm thinking that I am going to add, so I'm going to add this shimmery pink here. And ooh, someone fell. Oh no. Sorry, y'all. Sometimes they're not really secured. So I'm just going to put a little shimmer here, and then I'm going to put a little bit more pink on top of it. That's going to be a mess to clean. Oh yeah. So yeah, I'm putting this shimmer here. I'm going to go back and blend everything, but I just figured I'd just see what it looks like. A lot of this is, like I said, I haven't really done color in a while. So, and then I'm going to put this, and this pink right here. We're just going to put it here, see what happens. I'm going to see what happens type of girl, because I feel like it will enhance the pink that I'm trying to do. And it did. It did, child. It did. All right, let's put a little bit more. And then we're going to go back and blend with the dark purple. This purple right here. Mid-center, like I said, mid-center, like, I don't use tape, child, because I'm not really trying to tape my face. Okay. All right. I am loving this so far. And then just gonna go back and just add more pink to enhance there, right there. And then we're gonna clean it all up soon. Alrighty. So I know you see a lot of pink. You're like, wait, what? But first I'm just gonna actually, I might just stick with black underneath my eyes to kind of, because there's a lot of color already. So I'm just gonna stick with black. Excuse me, as I look in this mirror, it's a little bit easier for me. I'm just gonna put this underneath, put in my waterline. Okay. And other eye. I'm putting it underneath so that, yeah, because I feel like if I were to do a color underneath, it wouldn't help my eye pop out as much, because I just want the focus to be on the purple and the pink. Okay, alrighty. So now I'm gonna take this. Actually, let's do some foundation. So I use the Lip Bar Just a Tint 3-in-1 Tinted Skin Conditioner. It's right here. It has SPF 11, and I really like to use tinted moisturizers because I'm at that point where you really just want to protect your skin. And I just like the way it feels. All right, so now I'm going to take my foundation brush and just kind of blend it all in. And I'm going to go back and put some concealer. Alrighty. Everybody does a different order. This is the order that works for me because like I said, I like to remember when all that fell? I like to make sure that I catch everything. And then I'll show you just how I do things with my concealer because I don't use tape. Okay. Alrighty. I have 3 more characters I'm going to be talking about, but figured. All right. Okay. All right, let me do this concealer thing I was going to talk to y'all about. Oh, don't know where that southernness came from. Okay. So yeah, I really just like how it looks and sits on my face. Another black owned company, the Lip Bar. I really like this company. They started off doing lipsticks and now they're lipstick, and now they're doing other things and venturing out, which I really can appreciate. Okay, so usually I go lighter with my foundation, but I really just like how sometimes I don't go too light with the foundation, but this helps me become more accurate. This is 24-hour MAC Studio Fix here. Really like it because it's 24 hours and it lasts a pretty long time. So as I did before, I just kind of right there. Do the same. Because it's just helpful for me, I just kind of dab the rest. And then, I'm dropping everything, y'all. And then I have this blurring concealer brush that I really like. I got it from Target. I just kind of go in and kind of feather everything out. And then as you can see, kind of just creates that line that I would have had. Maybe not as accurate as some people who use tape, but this is fine for me. I'm not looking to sharp anybody out. I just use my concealer to make it work, and it does. I like to make sure I go back and clean everything. Okay, so yep. So that's what I kind of do to give me that that tape look. I don't ever feel like having that sensation again. So I just use concealer at the bottom to give me that whoop, whoop, right there. Alrighty, so we have the concealer. If I did this concealer actually matches my skin really. Some people like to go lighter. Sometimes I do like to go lighter, but today I really didn't feel like doing that. All right, so as I'm baking, we're gonna get into Bruno. Let's not talk about Bruno. No, I really love that song. I liked a lot of other songs in Encanto, but that song, just from a trauma perspective, when you're breaking the cycles in your family, you will find that you will be isolated. You'll be alone in that journey. And that often happens with people who are recognizing, hey, like there's some trauma in this family and maybe we should kind of backtrack and talk about it. And everybody else is like, we like how things are. No, thank you. Like, what are you trying to do here? That can also happen in the workplace. And our ancestors will always maybe back in the day would say, hey, like don't disrupt the status quo. If people tell you to do things, just do them. Don't kind of be in that position to ruffle any feathers, right? Like, that's what our ancestors would say. That's what some people might say. That's what my parents might say. That's what my mom said. And when you speak out at work, you run the risk of people not understanding you. Oh, I got my shirt dirty. Sorry, y'all. That happens. And I should probably wear my nice shirt. It's okay. But when you're at work and people might be intimidated by you trying to change things. I know for sure I tried to do that. I tried to introduce new things, new trauma-informed things, and people were just like not receptive to it. By the way, you can also use powder-based contour right here, like I got from MAC. This is actually really good. You don't have to use the liquid to contour your face. I like to kind of use a powder base here, especially during the winter, so I'm not as oily. So I just go in and get that here. So there might be a chance where you recognize something, you bring it to attention of the principal, you bring it to the attention of the CEO, you bring it to the attention of your supervisor, and they're looking at you like, we didn't ask you to do all that. We didn't ask you to tell you what's wrong with our company. We asked you to work here, and you might be alienated. You might feel uncomfortable kind of bringing things up to people more so because they have a terrible reaction. I, for one, try to tell people about how to be trauma-informed with Black and brown students, and people were not receptive to certain things I did because they were just like, we had a way of doing things here, and that's where we like it. And I wasn't necessarily like rejected, but I did feel very isolated because people were not receptive to the things that I was trying to say and trying to do. And that can happen. It can be very traumatic and a very traumatic experience, especially if you can't afford to lose your job. But you feel so uncomfortable. People make it so uncomfortable for you at work because you're trying to change the way that people have been doing things. And it's a terrible sign at your workplace if someone goes, well, that's what we've been doing and we're going to continue to do that, and that's what we've been doing since way before you got here. Especially if you're younger than the people that have been there for a while, they especially might take issue with you, and they especially might take issue with the way that you might try to do things, and it disrupts their comfort. It's something new, and they're not happy with that something new. So I definitely felt like, yes, that happens when you're trying to break cycles in your family. When you're trying to break cycles and patterns that you see at work, you can often be ostracized, and people can make it so uncomfortable for you at work that you just want to leave. So that does happen. And I feel bad because I know people that have left certain jobs because it got to the point where they couldn't manage anymore. So that, and Alma represents that the company status quo of don't say nothing, don't talk about nothing that will mess up the image of the company. The image of the company is sacred, and you coming in and telling us that we're doing wrong goes against our image. And then everybody else in the company alienates you because you're seen as a person who's trying to do change. And then it becomes, don't talk about so-and-so at work, because if you align with so-and-so, then you're trying to do so-and-so's way. And we don't like that. And it can be very alienating. And I felt very alienated at my job when I tried to introduce something new and people weren't receptive to it. Like Mirabelle. But yeah, it's tough. It really is tough. All right, let's get into the blush real quick. So I am going to be, what am I going to be using today? Am I feeling this pink? I feel like I have too much. I got to tone it down. No, that's not it. I feel like because my eyes are already so bright. Oh, here we go. So again, Juvia's Place. I use it so much that you can't really see it. The Saharan Blush Volume 2 might be an old school one. So I'm going to go ahead here with Sola here because I like and I'm also just going to blend these two because that's what I used to do. This to kind of bring it out, this to kind of tone it down, and then kind of just put it on my cheeks here. Okay. Oh, again, it is Sola and B. Sola and B. Right here, I already contoured, so I'm feeling good. All right. Yeah, I feel like that was better because if I did too much, it would have been Alrighty. And then I'm going to put a little highlight. A little highlight. Saharan Blush Volume 1. And I'm going to use Zara. Just put a little at the top. Nothing too crazy. And I think I am going to go with the purple lipstick. A little dab on my nose. Yeah. Okay, so I guess I'm all Juvia'd out. Because this is from Juvia's Place. Another thing dropped. Okay, now just go look in the mirror here. It's a little bit easier for me. I'll come back to you in just a little bit. Yeah, today we were purple and pinked out, and I like it. Movie Encanto was very colorful, but I'm happy that I got to return to my bit of color. All right, let's get the corner. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so I'm back to color. Let me see if I can lighten it up a bit. Should I put a little pink? This is actually not Juvia's Place. This is ColourPop. Let's see what happens if I just dab a little thing in the middle, just to brighten it up a little bit. Okay. There we go. That's what I was missing right there. So I put a little bit of this Color Luxe Velvet on top, just so that the purple wasn't so deep. And we are just in time for Valentine's Day. Yes. So this is the makeup look here. I'm going to put it in another picture for you guys. Probably put it as, forgot what you call that, the main picture, the main YouTube picture. But my growth tip for this video is this: honor your legacy. Our ancestors and people that walked before us fought so hard to make sure that we have a 5-day work week. They fought so hard to make sure that we have sick days. They fought so hard to make sure that we have a 9 to 5. They fought so hard to put these things into place, and especially for our African American and underrepresented groups, they also fought so hard to make sure that we don't experience racism in the hiring and also in the workplace. So every time you advocate for your needs, every time you speak up for yourself, every time you rest, every time you use your sick day, every time you walk away from what's not meant for you, you're honoring your legacy. You're honoring their memory. somewhere down the line, these companies took control of the narrative and they were like, let's make sure that people forget about their legacy, where they came from. You make sure you got to work first, and slave hard. And I think that's what happened in the school system, is that more and more professors were aligning with these employers and saying, you got to do A, B, and C. Don't make sure you don't do this. Make sure they're preparing us for, and we lost touch with the people that fought so hard to give us what we have now. And companies are taking that for granted and acting like we're asking for so much, when in reality, this is exactly what was fought for. And this is exactly what we deserve. So I just find it extremely hurtful when I hear someone say, I can't take the day off. I have to make sure I work. I have to make sure I show up. People fought for you to make sure that you take a sick day so you don't burn yourself out. Honor your legacy. People came before you to make sure that you don't burn out, that you don't suffer at the workplace. Work is not everything. They might make it seem like your job is the moon, the stars, and the sun. It really is not. You have a family, you're a wife, you're a husband, you're a father, you're a mother, you're a cousin, you're a daughter, you're a son, you're a grandparent, or you're a grandchild. Or you're a grandparent who's about to have a grandchild. Like, you are so many things besides just an employee. Don't let workplace PTSD get the best of you, because you deserve so much more than what you're probably getting. And it's not about being underpaid. It's about being undervalued. And that's what people have to start recognizing. And I hope you recognize your worth and your value and your beauty and everything you deserve, and all the things that you're creative at, and your ideas, your ability to solve problems, and your ability to create things that people haven't really thought of yet. If people don't appreciate you, they don't appreciate you. And maybe that's not where you need to be. Maybe this is not your season. Maybe this is a chapter and not the end of the book. I hope you enjoyed this. So please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this message, subscribe to my channel, because there's going to be so much more content coming your way. And also, if you go to our page, path2growthcounseling.com, growthcounseling.com, you can go to my consulting side. And if you need help setting boundaries, if you need help with anything work and career related, I started that side of my business because I really want to make sure people are taken care of. I'm not okay with the way things are going. It's giving shackles, it's giving depression, it's giving all these things that we don't need. It's giving anxiety, it's giving workplace PTSD. And my goal is to make sure that you reach your goals at the workplace, but not at the detriment or sacrificing your mental health to do so. So I started a consulting business to really help women in their careers really thrive and identify habits or trauma cycles that they need to break. So if you have any more questions, drop them in the comments. I'm happy to answer them. And I really hope you enjoyed this video.